No one remembered the morning as tense as this one. The launch bays of Earth's Orbital Command hummed with the deep vibration of reactors warming up, guidance systems aligning, and officers shouting instructions with military precision. Dozens of pilots, engineers, and tactical commanders rushed to secure their positions aboard the flagship EHS Resolute, humanity's most advanced long-range cruiser. The mission was supposed to be routine, or at least as routine as anything could be during the current state of the galaxy. The alien empire known as the Zivar Dominion had been tightening its grip on the outer sectors. Earth wasn't at war yet, but everyone felt the storm coming. Amid all this tension, one small creature had absolutely no idea that history was about to be rewritten. A fluffy gray cat with white paws and bright, mischievous eyes sat calmly on a steel crate near the loading ramp. His name was Marshall, the beloved pet of Supreme General Adrian Holt, commander of Earth's entire defense force. On any normal day, Marshall's biggest mission was chasing holographic mice or sneaking into the general's office to nap on secret documents. But today was different. Amid the chaos, a supply technician set down a container, turned away for just a moment, and Marshall, curious as ever, leaped inside. The crate lid swung shut, locked, sealed, and moments later, the crate was rolled aboard the Resolute along with the rest of the cargo. Unnoticed, unregistered, and about to become the most important passenger inside the entire fleet. Inside the ship, the atmosphere buzzed with barely contained anxiety. Commander Rhea Morgan, the Resolute's captain, stood at the central console giving final orders. All departments, report status. Engineering green. Weapons online. Communications calibrated. Jump drive fully charged. Only one person wasn't paying attention. Lieutenant Felix Grant, the fleet's communications analyst, suddenly looking pale. Captain, we have a priority message from Earth Command. It's the General. The crew froze. Holt never contacted captains personally unless something was very wrong. The screen lit up, showing General Holt's stern face, and behind him, an empty cat perch. Captain Morgan, he said with urgency, Marshall is missing. He's somewhere inside the launch complex. If he wandered into any transport area. Morgan's eyes widened. Sir, the ship is already sealed. We are seconds from departure. Holt swallowed, struggling to maintain composure. Find him. If he's aboard, I want him safe. Commander Morgan nodded. We'll sweep the entire vessel. The general cut the connection, but his expression remained burned into everyone's mind. They had seen him lead Earth's armies through the darkest hours, but the possibility of losing his cat genuinely terrified him. Before any search could begin, the launch sequence initiated. Jump in 30 seconds. The massive thrusters ignited, shaking the entire ship. The Resolute detached from the maglock clamps and drifted into open star space. The moment the countdown reached zero, the cruiser stretched into a line of light and vanished into the subspace corridor. And so did the feline who had no idea the universe just fast-traveled him into danger. Hidden deep in the cargo bay, the sealed crate trembled as the ship passed through the gravity tunnel. Marshall woke with an annoyed chirp, bumping his head against a container wall. After a few determined scratches and one very dramatic hiss, he slipped out through a small ventilation gap. The moment his paws touched the cold metal floor, Marshall stretched, yawned, and began wandering. To him, the Resolute was simply a strange new playground. To humanity, he was the accidental wild card who would soon rewrite the outcome of the war. Meanwhile, on the bridge, sensors began flashing red. Captain, Lieutenant Grant shouted, we're picking up a distortion in subspace. Morgan stiffened. Zivar ships? No, something worse. The view screen showed the impossible, a swirling bioneural wave spreading through space like a living storm. The Dominion had deployed a new weapon, something unknown, something terrifying. What is that? An officer whispered. Within seconds, crew members began feeling dizzy, disoriented. Their thoughts became foggy, unfocused, scattered. Even the ship's AI momentarily stuttered, as if its logic pathways were tangled. Unseen and unfazed, Marshall hopped onto a glowing console panel, somewhere in the maintenance bay. His paw pressed against a warm, hollow button, he found interesting. And deep inside the ship's systems, something changed. Something that would save humanity. Something that would terrify the galaxy. The war was about to begin, and Marshall was already part of it. Panic spread across the Resolute like a silent fire. It didn't scream. It didn't explode. It didn't even make a sound. It simply entered the minds of everyone on board. The Zevar Dominion's new weapon wasn't physical. It was cognitive distortion, a neural shockwave that disorganized higher brain functions. A weapon designed not to kill, but to shut down human decision-making. No alarms warned of its approach. No shields could block it. Only the sensation gave it away. A sudden, creeping fog settling over the minds of the crew. Commander Morgan gripped the edge of her console as her vision blurred. "Everyone hold position," she managed, but her words slurred, her thoughts scattering like loose pages in a storm. Lieutenant Grant tried to stabilize the communications array, but instead stared at the console, confused by symbols he once knew by heart. What does that even say?" he mumbled. Engineers collapsed on their railings. Pilots rubbed their temples, unable to focus. The ship's AI flickered, unable to maintain coherent subroutines. The Dominion hadn't created a weapon to break ships. They had created a weapon to break thought. And in the middle of this chaos was a small gray creature strolling down a corridor, tail in the air, completely uninterested in everyone's suffering. Marshall trotted past the fallen crewman, sniffed his boot, and continued his personal exploration of the giant warm metal house he now lived in, the weapons intent. Aboard the Zevar flagship, far across the void, alien strategists observed the weapon's effects with satisfaction. Their chitinous limbs clicked and hummed with excitement. Human cognitive patterns collapsing by 40%. Full paralysis imminent. Reported a Zevar neural tactician. Their commander, a tall being with crystalline sensory plates, leaned forward. "Excellent. Humans rely heavily on individual thought. Remove that and the fleet is helpless." None of them knew that a creature entirely unaffected by their superweapon was currently pawing at an exposed coolant cable on the Resolute. Marshall meets the circuit. In the engineering access bay, Marshall found something he liked: warmth. A glowing maintenance node pulsed with soft blue light. To the cat, it was a heated bed, a perfect one. He circled the panel twice, then sat on it, then he kneaded it, then he stretched across it like a king claiming his throne. The node reacted, systems rerouted, a bypass activated, diagnostics triggered. The pressure of Marshall's body unknowingly pressed several multifunction touch sensors. Suddenly, a jamming pulse emitted from the Resolute's lower deck. The bioneural wave flickered, not defeated, but disrupted. On the bridge, Morgan sucked in a breath as clarity returned for half a second. "What was that? Did we just get a moment of—" Then the wave pressed down again, smothering her mind. But the disruption repeated. Another pulse from the engineering bay. Another gap in the fog. Across the ship, dozens of crew members found themselves gasping like drowning people reaching the surface for a single breath. "What's causing that?" An officer forced out. No one knew. Not yet. But the pattern repeated. And with every accidental button press, Marshall was unintentionally fighting the most advanced alien weapon in the galaxy. The first connection. Lieutenant Grant blinked hard, trying to clear his mind when a small icon flashed across his console. A maintenance override. Unauthorized. Originating from lower engineering. "Captain," he said slowly, each word feeling like lifting a mountain. "Something is triggering counter-jamming cycles on Deck 12. Morgan forced her foggy brain to focus. "Is it the AI?" "No. AI is still scrambled." Grant wrinkled his brow. "This is too unstructured, too random, too—" He hesitated. "Chaotic." Morgan staggered to her feet. "Grant, send security team to Deck 12. Now!" But the team moved sluggishly, each step heavy, every action delayed by the alien weapon. In the hallway, Marshall grew bored of the glowing panel and hopped onto another surface, activating a harmonic feedback loop. This time, the disruption didn't just weaken the alien wave, it reflected part of it. For the first time since the weapon fired, a part of the distortion snapped. like a rope stretched too far. The Zivar tacticians flinched as their displays spiked. Unexpected interference. Feedback, mapping unknown source. It's not machine-generated. It's organic, the Zivar commander hissed. Impossible. Humans have no creature with neuroresistance to our weaponry. The assistant hesitated. Commander, something aboard their ship is resisting us and countering us. The commander stiffened. What, in the name of the Dominion, is on that vessel? The first human realization. Security Officer Dana Ruiz reached Deck 12, staggering like she was drunk. She pushed open the access bay, and there, sitting proudly on the glowing node, was Marshall. Calm, content, purring. She stared, then checked her wrist scanner, then stared again. You gotta be kidding me. The scanner showed neural disruption pulses emanating exactly where the cat sat. She whispered into her comm. Captain, you need to hear this. The source of our counterjamming signals is... A pause. The General's cat. Security Officer Dana Ruiz had been through Black Ops missions, pirate ambushes, sabotage attempts, and a dozen war drills. But never in her life did she expect to report this sentence to her commanding officer. Captain, the source of our neural counterjamming is Marshall, the cat. The bridge went silent, even through the mental haze, even with thoughts flickering like bad holograms. Everyone processed that one word. Cat. Commander Morgan squinted, barely holding her focus. Ruiz, repeat that. Ruiz pressed a hand to her forehead, fighting the fog. The General's cat is sitting on a maintenance node, and every time he moves, we get a surge of anti-interference. He's somehow scrambling the Zivar weapon. A long, painful pause followed. Grant leaned back in his chair. Well, that's new. Morgan exhaled slowly. The Dominion's cognitive wave continued pushing against her mind like a psychic tide, but the repeated disruptions, the ones Marshall was creating, let her think in bursts. Not clearly, but enough. Ruiz, don't touch him, Morgan ordered. Observe. Scan. Try to understand the pattern. Ruiz looked down at Marshall, who was kneading the note again. Each soft press of a paw sent a ripple of counter-energy through the ship's systems. Marshall yawned, utterly relaxed. He had no idea he was currently jamming the most advanced alien weapon in the galaxy. He was just enjoying the warm, humming panel beneath him. Ruiz's scanner chirped. Her eyes widened. This can't be right. Captain, I'm reading. The floor shook violently, cutting her off. The weapon intensifies. On the Zivar flagship, the alien commander slammed a limb against the control dais. Amplify the neural wave. Push past the interference. Technicians obeyed immediately, feeding more power into the psychic storm. The distortion grew sharper, deeper, more violent. Its tendrils stretched toward the Resolute with predatory precision. The commander hissed. Let's see if their mysterious ally can resist this. Disaster in engineering. Back in Deck 12, Ruiz felt the air thicken around her. Her legs wobbled. The neural fog returned twice as strong, clawing at her mind. Marshall, however, didn't flinch. Instead, he looked annoyed, ears twitching, tail flicking sharply, at the sudden change in vibration. Then, with the confidence of a creature who feared nothing in any universe, Marshall marched off the maintenance node and onto a second, larger control cluster. His paw hit a red holographic sigil. The entire ship jolted. Ruiz, report, Morgan shouted. But Ruiz was already bracing herself against the wall as consoles flickered all around Marshall. Captain, the cat just activated. A shockwave blasted through the deck as an experimental harmonic shield came online. The air vibrated. The lighting snapped. And then, the cognitive weapon's influence weakened dramatically. On the bridge, Morgan gasped as clarity returned for a full 3 seconds. Grant shouted, We're stabilizing. The alien wave is losing coherence. Morgan grabbed the console. What did he activate? Ruiz stared at the glowing cluster under Marshall's paws. Captain. He turned on the prototype neuroharmonic reflector. Grant blinked rapidly. That system isn't even finished. It's not supposed to be in use. Morgan narrowed her eyes. Well, Apparently the cat didn't get the memo. The realization. The ship's systems hummed, finding a temporary balance. Marshall sat proudly atop the panel, eyes half closed, purring like a reactor core. Ruiz scanned again. Captain, you need to hear this. The reflector is amplifying tiny neural pulses emitted by the cat. They're not human brain patterns. They're simpler. But that simplicity is exactly why the Zivar weapon can't disrupt them. Morgan frowned. Meaning? Ruiz swallowed. Meaning the weapon targets complex sapient minds. Anything with structured cognition. A cat's mind? It's too chaotic, unpredictable. It doesn't follow the neural patterns the weapon attacks. Grant let out a weak laugh. So their galaxy-ending superweapon has one flaw. He pointed at the screen. It can't beat fuzzy thinking. Morgan stared at the scanner results. No human could have resisted this weapon. No AI. No trained psychic resistance unit. But a house cat? Perfect counter. She shook her head, stunned into a rare moment of awe. Ruiz, keep Marshall on that reflector as long as possible. We need him. Ruiz scooped Marshall gently and placed him back onto the warm, glowing interface. The cat settled in immediately, as if accepting an unspoken royal duty. The reflector pulsed stronger. The neural fog lifted further. The Zivar's weapon crackled, faltered, and weakened. The Dominion's fear. On the Zivar flagship, alarms blared. Commander, the humans are adapting. Unknown countersignal detected. Our wave is collapsing. The commander hissed in disbelief. No species adapts this quickly. No mind can resist this weapon. How are they doing it? A trembling technician turned. It's not a mind, sir. What? It's an animal. The entire command chamber fell silent. A single, chilling truth settled over them. The humans had a creature immune to the Dominion's greatest weapon. And worse, they had no idea how many more of those creatures existed. The new plan. Commander Morgan straightened. We have one advantage now, and he is fur. Grant smirked weakly. So what do? Morgan's eyes hardened. We take the fight back to the Dominion, with Marshall as our shield. She hit the fleet-wide broadcast. All hands, prepare for counteroffensive. Our new tactical leader is the General's cat. Crew members across the ship stared in disbelief. And Marshall? Marshall licked his paw and tapped the console again, causing another glorious pulse of anti-neural disruption. The war had changed, and the galaxy wasn't ready for the animal leading humanity into battle. When the crew of the Resolute heard the captain's broadcast, an entire starship full of trained officers, hardened soldiers, and elite specialists stared at one another in stunned silence. Their new tactical leader was a cat, not a super soldier, not a genetically enhanced commander, not an AI warbrain. A fluffy, 12-pound feline who was currently grooming his tail on a glowing console. Lieutenant Grant whispered, My mom always said cats were plotting something. I didn't think she meant war. Commander Morgan didn't crack a smile. She stood straighter, clarity returning with each pulse of Marshall's interference. We need every advantage we can get. And right now, Marshall is our only shield against the Zivar weapon. All across the ship, crew members forced themselves upright, thoughts sharpening with each cycle of neuroharmonic disruption. Marshall continued tapping and kneading the panel, unknowingly feeding the reflector with strong, chaotic biological pulses. Human consciousness stabilized enough to allow proper coordination. And the Zivar? Their weapon was failing. The first counteroffensive. Morgan turned toward tactical control. Lieutenant Kara, bring weapons online. Gradually. Don't overload the system while Marshall is stabilizing us. Kara, blinking away the remnants of the fog, ran her fingers across the hollow panels. We're charging plasma lances at 30%, 40, 50. The ship hummed with growing strength. Grant added, Captain, the enemy fleet is closing formation. They expected us to be paralyzed right now. Morgan's expression hardened. Let's disappoint them. On the main view screen, the Zivar ships approached, their sickle-shaped hulls shimmering with psychic energy. They expected an easy kill, a drifting human cruiser with no functioning minds aboard. Instead, the Resolute adjusted position, armor glowing, weapons primed. Karen nodded sharply. We have lock. Morgan raised her hand. Fire! A surge of white-blue plasma tore through the void, shredding the lead Zevar frigate. The explosion lit the darkness like a dying star. Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Morgan stayed calm. We're not out of this yet. The hero in engineering. Meanwhile, on deck 12, Ruiz knelt beside Marshall, her scanner glowing brightly. She spoke softly, as if addressing a royal dignitary. Okay, little guy, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Marshall blinked slowly. The sacred cat. I acknowledge your presence, Blink. Then resumed tapping the console with his paw. Each tap created a burst of neural distortion that clashed with the Zevar wave, fracturing the psychic attack like a hammer striking glass. Ruiz watched the readings in awe. This is incredible. The reflector is amplifying his instinctive neural rhythms. He's basically weaponizing cat brainwaves. A nearby engineer, still regaining his clarity, muttered, So what you're saying is he's fighting them with pure stupidity? Ruiz shot him a glare. It's not stupidity. It's simplicity. Direct, nonlinear instinct. His mind doesn't have the cognitive structures the Zevar attack relies on. They can't target him. The engineer shrugged. Same thing. Marshall, offended by something no one said out loud, flicked his tail and pressed another glowing sigil. The ship lurched. The lights brightened. The reflector's power output doubled. Ruiz's eyes widened. Captain, he just boosted the system's functioning. Morgan replied through the comms. Are you telling me the cat just upgraded our experimental defense array? Ruiz looked at Marshall with a mix of fear and admiration. Yes, he did. The angry general. Back on Earth Command, General Adrian Holt was pacing like a caged beast. His staff had never seen him like this. He slammed a hand on the table. Patch me through to the Resolute, now. The comm tech stuttered. Yes, sir. Subspace is unstable. Do it. The connection crackled, flickered, then stabilized just enough to show a grainy image of Commander Morgan. Captain. Holt barked. Did you find Marshall? Is my cat safe? Did you? Morgan cut him off. Sir, with all due respect, Marshall is currently saving the ship. Holt blinked. What? Morgan explained rapidly. The Zevar neural weapon, the counter-jamming pulses, Marshall's immunity, the reflector, the accidental activation, the stabilized shields, the counter-offensive. For a moment, the Supreme General of Earth, conqueror of battlefields, architect of planetary defenses, stood frozen, mouth slightly open. Then he whispered, like a parent learning their toddler just rebuild a car engine. My boy, you're a genius. The Zevar panic. On the Zevar flagship, the alien commander reeled as their strategist screamed updates. The humans are resisting us. They're firing back. The distortion wave is failing. How? The commander roared. A trembling tactician answered. It appears the humans have found a creature immune to our attack. The chamber fell into stunned silence. A creature? What creature? The tactician swallowed hard. A small, furry predator with retractable claws and eyes that glow in low light. A bead of horror. You don't mean... Yes, Commander. It's one of the Earther stalkers. The Zevar commander staggered backward in pure terror. No. It can't be. The legend said they were gone, extinct, kept only as pets. Another tactician shrieked. Commander, we have detected similar biological signatures across their homeworld. Millions of them. A deathly silence fell. Millions? The human advance. Commander Morgan clenched her fist. Prepare for full burn. With Marshall stabilizing us, we push straight through their front line. Grant grinned. We're going to win this because the general forgot to lock his cat at home. Morgan nodded. No, we're going to win this because Marshall chose to explore a new playground. Back on deck 12, Marshall stood atop the glowing console, chest puffed out, tail curled like the banner of a king. With every purr, every step, every tap of his paw, he wasn't just a passenger anymore. He was humanity's first feline weapon. and the Zevar Dominion had no idea how much destruction one curious cat could bring. The war room aboard the Argent Dawn had transformed into something far more tense than a command center. It had become the beating heart of Earth's final gamble. Every officer, strategist, analyst, and comms technician stood locked onto the main holomap, a swirling projection of alien fleet formations converging toward the Orion line. The enemy wasn't retreating anymore. They were coming in full force. And all because of one small creature. Marshall the cat sat neatly on the general's desk, tail wrapped around his paws, blinking slowly at the chaos around him. For a moment, even the general allowed himself a tired smile at the bizarre situation. "Gentlemen," he said, "the most important intelligence in this war is sitting right here." Some officers still couldn't accept that statement, but nobody said it aloud. After what Marshall had done, breaking alien neural grids, disrupting link fields, and somehow predicting enemy electronic shifts, doubt wasn't an option anymore. General Vargas stepped forward toward the hollow display. "Status." Admiral cleared his throat, voice heavy. "Alien fleet massing at 12,000 warships. They're reinforcing their mine-net array, but our projections show their neural weapon has a flaw." Rin tapped the control. A fractal-like diagram appeared. Interlocking rings, patterns, and pulses. "A cat-size flaw," whispered Commander Lin. Marshall meowed loudly, as if acknowledging the statement. Lin continued. "The alien mine-net relies on scanning sapient patterns. Anything below the threshold, it doesn't detect. That means Marshall can move through their network without setting off any alarms." General Vargas leaned closer. "So we send him in." The room fell silent. Even suggesting such an idea felt insane. But wars were won by those who embraced the impossible. But then Captain Reyes, Marshall's accidental astronaut companion, spoke up. "With all due respect, sir, he's a cat. How do we get him into an alien mind core without losing him?" General Vargas nodded. "I've been thinking about that." He zoomed out the holomap. A structure appeared, a colossal alien command biostation. The Mind Spire, floating at the center of the enemy formation. That's their nerve center. If we disrupt it, their coordination collapses. Their ships lose swarm logic. Their neural weapons go dead. The war shifts instantly. Captain Reyes looked at the spire's spinning organic architecture. "And Marshall is supposed to walk in there?" "Not alone," said Vargas. "He'll need a human escort. Someone who trusts him and whom he trusts." Every head turned toward Reyes. The captain swallowed. "Me? Sir, that's dangerous." Vargas finished. "Yes, almost suicidal. But you've seen what he can do. And more importantly, Marshall listens to you. He follows you." The cat hopped off the desk and walked up to Reyes, rubbing against his leg with a soft purr. Decision made. Reyes exhaled. "Then I'll do it." The general nodded firmly. "Good, because the mission begins in 6 hours." The briefing. In the launch bay, engineers rushed around a small shuttle, compact, sleek, and heavily shielded. A new module had been attached underneath, one designed for a single passenger with pause. A Marshall pod. It humored nobody. It was deadly serious. Dr. Aya Kato, the fleet's Xenotech specialist, approached holding a small crystalline disc. "This," she said, "is a neural disruptor beacon pattern off Marshall's brainwaves. His natural pattern already confuses alien scanners. This amplifies it. When he carries it inside, the alien nodes will misread the entire station as, well, mindless. Basically," Reyes said, "he'll make their superweapon think it's surrounded by goldfish." Dr. Cato grinned. "Exactly." Marshall inspected the pod, sniffing the cushions, pawing at the harness. Reyes crouched. "Listen, buddy, no scratching wires. No getting distracted. No chasing glowing alien bugs, okay?" Marshall ignored him and climbed inside like he was entering a royal throne. The general approached as the pod sealed. His voice softened. "Bring him back, Captain. He's not just a cat. He's family." Reyes saluted. "I'll bring him back, sir, and I'll bring us victory." The general placed a hand on the shuttle's hull. "Go make history." Launch. As the shuttle lifted from the bay, Reyes felt the weight of every soldier who had died in the war, and the weight of every life still depending on this mission. He looked over his shoulder at the small pod behind his seat. Marshall stared back calmly through the transparent dome. No fear, no hesitation, just stillness. A warrior's stillness. Reyes whispered, "Let's go end this." The shuttle engines fired, streaking into darkness toward the Mind Spire, toward the center of the alien empire, toward the final gamble of humanity, led by a cat. The Shadowlark, a stealth shuttle reinforced for suicide missions, cut through enemy space like a whisper. Its engines ran in silent burn mode, barely visible, leaving no signature on alien sensors. Captain Reyes piloted manually, fingertips trembling slightly, though his voice stayed steady as he spoke to the small companion behind him. "You get back there, Marshal?" The transparent dome of the Marshal pod showed the cat curled comfortably, tail flicking lazily. His golden eyes were half closed, but alert, watching, calculating, or just existing in that strange, serene way only cats could manage. Reyes wasn't sure anymore. He wasn't sure of anything except that this animal had done the impossible before, and humanity needed a miracle now more than ever. Ahead, the alien Mind Spire loomed into view, an impossible structure floating in void. It looked alive. Tendrils of bioluminescent energy pulsed across its surfaces like veins. Plates opened and closed like gills, and the central tower rhythmically expanded and contracted, as if the entire station was breathing. Reyes whispered, "What kind of monsters build a station that thinks?" As if in response, the spire unleashed a wave of shimmering violet energy. The neural field, the same force that had shut down millions of human soldiers on the first day of war. Reyes braced. The wave passed through the shuttle. His thoughts blurred. Vision dimmed. Control panels swam and twisted. Voices whispered at the edge of his consciousness. Then, meow! A sharp, demanding cry. Marshall pawed the dome from inside the pod. Reyes' mind snapped back into focus like a rubber band. "Right, you got my back." The neural disruptor beacon strapped to Marshall's harness glowed faintly, stabilizing the cockpit. "Okay, buddy," Reyes exhaled. "Time to go inside." The breach. The shuttle approached an access chamber resembling a fleshy iris. Under normal circumstances, the spire would sense even the faintest cognitive pulse and vaporize any intruder before they reached 10 meters. But not today. The Marshall beacon projected the brainwave profile of a small, harmless, non-sapient Earth mammal. To the station, the Shadowlark now looked like a drifting rock, a dead fish, or a cat. The iris dilated slowly, invitingly. Reyes shuddered. "Creepy welcome, but I'll take it." He guided the shuttle into the chamber and set it down. The hatch slid open with a hiss. Warm, humid air greeted him, carrying a smell like ozone mixed with damp earth. Organic tech. The walls pulsed faintly, like muscle fibers. Marshall emerged from his pod with regal calm, stretched and flicked his tail. "You ready?" Reyes whispered. Marshall trotted ahead confidently. Inside the living station, Reyes followed the cat down a corridor of pulsing biofibers. As they walked, the walls reacted, shifting panels, retracting scanning nodes, producing faint chittering sounds. But the spire didn't sound alarms. To alien sensors, the only active mind within the corridor was a cat's, and the beacon disguised Reyes' conscious presence by riding on Marshall's neural signature like a shadow. Reyes marveled. "They have no idea we're here. Little guy, you're terrifying." Marshall meowed dismissively and kept walking. The first guardian. A deep rumbling echoed from up ahead. A massive alien sentinel uncurled itself in the wall. 8 limbs, glowing sensory pits, claws dripping with bioacid. It blocked the path, towering 3 meters tall. Reyes froze. The beacon might fool the station, but a living alien guardian? It dropped to all 8s and sniffed, growled, moved closer. Its attention locked onto Reyes. No, not Reyes. Marshall. The creature leaned down, inhaling the cat's scent. Marshall stared up with pure feline disdain, tail twitching once. The alien sniffed again, and then tilted its head in confusion. Its neural processes couldn't categorize what it was sensing. Its species had evolved to detect sentience, to identify threat-level intelligence. But before it was a creature with advanced pattern recognition, emotional micro-cues, strategic instinct, yet categorically non-sapient by the alien standards. Marshall blinked slowly. The universal sign, I am not impressed. The alien guardian stepped aside. Reyes nearly collapsed with relief. Marshall, remind me never to doubt you again. The core chamber. They reached a massive circular room, the beating heart of the mind spire. At its center hovered a crystalline biomatrix, pulsing with energy, the neural core. This was it, the alien superweapon, the hive link, the entire enemy fleet's consciousness. And to destroy it, they needed Marshall. Reyes crouched beside the cat. Okay, all you need to do is place the beacon onto that core. Then the whole system collapses. Marshall looked at Reyes, then at the core, then casually walked toward it with zero fear, until the room trembled. Panels slid open. Dozens of alien drones awakened. Reyes cursed. They're detecting me. The beacon's range is enough. The drones aimed their spike lasers, clicking in unison. Marshall hissed sharply. For rising. Reyes shouted, Go, Marshall! The cat sprinted toward the neural core as the drones fired, and Reyes leapt into line of fire. The final moment. Shots ripped into ground around him as he scrambled to shield the cat's path. A burning sensation hit his shoulder, but he didn't stop. Marshall climbed the final platform, beacon glowing brighter. Just as the drones aimed for the kill shot, Marshall pounced. His paws landed on the neural core. A blinding explosion of white-blue neural light erupted. The entire spire shook. The drones collapsed. The alien network fractured. And then, silence. Reyes fell to the ground, vision fading. His final thought, before blacking out, was simple. Marshall, you did it. Silence swallowed the mind spire. Not the silence of peace, but that eerie, absolute stillness that follows a catastrophic system failure. The neural core's pulsing bioluminescent veins flickered, dimmed, and went dark. Panels across the chamber sagged like deflated lungs. The alien tendrils that once pulsed with intelligence hung limp and lifeless. At the center of the room, perched atop the cracked neural core crystal, sat Marshall. His tail flicked once. Victory. Captain Reyes lay on the floor, unable to move, his arm burned, uniform shredded. His vision came in and out like a dying hollow projector. Marshall, he whispered. The cat leapt down gracefully and padded toward him, stepping delicately over the wreckage and motionless drones. He nuzzled Reyes' cheek, rumbling a deep purr. The universal feline signal for you are safe now, human. Reyes weakly lifted a hand and touched Marshall's back. We did it, buddy. The chamber shook violently. The spire was dying. The collapse. Across the galaxy, every alien warship linked to the Mind Spire felt the devastation at the same instant. Their neural synchronization shattered. Captains lost control. Entire fleets lurched into disarray. Alien cruisers collided. Battleships lost orientation. Weapons flickered offline. Strategic formations dissolved into chaos. And humanity's fleet, stationed just beyond the Orion line, watched their greatest nightmare suddenly crumble. On the bridge of the Argent Dawn, alarms blared. Sir, an officer shouted, enemy neural grid has collapsed. Their fleet is drifting without coordination. General Vargas gripped the rail. Do we have confirmation on Reyes and Marshall? Not yet, sir. But whatever happened, it worked. Vargas stared at the screen, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles whitened. Reyes, Marshall, hold on. Escape from the spire. The Mind Spire groaned like a wounded titan, biofibers ripping apart. The entire structure tilted, gravity fluctuating wildly. Reyes knew they had minutes, maybe seconds. Marshall, we have to go. The cat immediately took the lead, darting toward the exit corridor. Reyes forced himself onto shaky legs, following the little silhouette, weaving expertly through collapsing alien architecture. Panels crashed behind them. Flames burst from ruptured conduits. Shock waves rippled through the organic floors. Marshall never looked back. He moved with absolute confidence, and Reyes found strength simply trying to keep up with him. They reached the hangar. The Shadow Lark still sat there, damaged but intact. Reyes stumbled inside, sealing the hatch. Marshall jumped into his pod and buckled himself in, meowed loudly until the pod closed, but close enough. Reyes slammed the ignition. The engines coughed out sparks. Come on, come on, come on. The shuttle roared to life just as the hangar floor split behind them. Reyes pushed the throttle to maximum. The shuttle shot into space. And behind them, the Mind Spire imploded, collapsing into itself before exploding into a massive silent shockwave that rippled through the void. Reyes let out a ragged breath. Marshall, you absolute legend. Marshall responded with a satisfied purr. The return. When the Shadow Lark approached the human fleet, thousands of comm channels erupted in celebration. They did it! Signature confirmed. The neural core is gone. The war is ours. General Vargas was already waiting in the hangar bay when the shuttle landed. Engineers rushed forward. Medics ran toward Reyes. But Vargas didn't rush to his captain. He rushed to his cat. The pod opened. Marshall stepped out with the dignity of a monarch who had merely gone on an afternoon stroll. Vargas lifted him gently, emotion shaking his voice. Marshall, my boy, I thought I lost you. Marshall headbutted him firmly, purring against the general's chest. Reyes grinned weakly. Sir, your cat saved the galaxy. Vargas wiped his eyes. No, Captain, you both did. He turned to the assembled officers. Prepare a sector-wide announcement. Today, humanity stands victorious, not because of weapons or numbers or fear, but because even the smallest creature among us refused to surrender. Marshall meowed loudly, as if agreeing. A legend begins. Within days, word spread across every colony, every listening post, every surviving outpost. Tales grew, songs were written. A golden statue of Marshall, the hero of the Orion Line, was erected outside the Earth Fleet headquarters. Artists painted him standing atop the shattered neural core. Children wore star-patterned capes and pretended to be Starpaw, humanity's feline savior. Aliens who once feared humanity now whispered legends about the silent predator, the creature immune to their greatest weapon. Humanity didn't correct them. Fear was useful. Marshall, of course, basked in the attention like a king. Tuna deliveries increased by 300%. He received his own security escort. The fleet even built him a private observation dome filled with sunlight lamps, warm cushions, and a panoramic view of the stars he had saved. Reyes visited him often. You know, he'd say, scratching behind Marshall's ears, you're probably the only soldier in history who saved the galaxy by just being yourself. Marshall would blink slowly, content. A hero, a mystery, a cat, the cat who changed the course of the galaxy forever.